There's nothing like God's grace. And knowing no matter what you've done, nothing compares to His grace. It was just always a part of my life that we went to church, and I went to a Christian school for most of elementary. I definitely knew about God, and I knew Bible verses, I knew facts about God. It was more, what do we do? I want to do what's right because I don't want to get in trouble, and that's just what you do. But I didn't really understand why. Going into a public school, it was almost like a culture shock. It was watching everyone else and how can I, try and do what everybody else is doing. And during this time, my parents fought a lot, and they ended up separating and getting divorced. What kept me doing right was a fear of getting in trouble. As I got older, I got better at just not getting in trouble, especially when my parents were separated. I had a small group of friends that I hung out with my senior year, and we went out one night and we smoked crank. And so I came home and I had told my brother, and I had said, I want to tell you that I smoked crank. And he said, well, I'm not upset. I'm just mad you didn't try the good stuff. And so I found out at that time that my brother was using and had been dealing methamphetamines. I went and bought a bag of methamphetamines without ever even really having used, and I did my first line of meth. I used for at least 3 years every day. So when I was living at my dad's and my brother was there and we both were using drugs, we were found out, and then I left one night. I found out then that because I had left that one night that the locks were changed on the doors, and so I wasn't welcome back. Because I was on my own, it was like, well, now I can do whatever I want. So then I really started using a lot. I had some times where I definitely overdosed. I think in a way I wanted help, but then in my stubborn self, I don't know if I would have taken help at that time. I had called up a friend, a guy that I had been dating. We weren't dating anymore, but he said, well, you can come stay at my house. But he still wanted to have a physical relationship, and I got tired of always saying no. So sometimes I would spend the night in my car or by myself. So we had one night together after we were dating. So we weren't dating anymore, and I had gotten pregnant. So how do you go to anyone and say, okay, I've been using methamphetamines, I've been sleeping in my car, and I'm pregnant? I can't say that I was excited, but I can't really say that I wasn't excited, because I always wanted to be a mom. When I was asked as a kid, what do I want to be when I grow up? A mom, always. I was driving and I threw my meth out the window and I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna be a mom now, so I'm done. The few that I had told were very upset with me that I even would consider having this child. I was told that it was stupid, and so I felt like, well, maybe I can't. Maybe nobody is gonna be there for me. I think I kind of used other people and what they thought as an excuse to just go ahead and to have an abortion. I didn't know what else to do or how to get out of that thinking, so it was kind of this attitude of, fine, if that's what everyone wants me to do, fine, that's what I'll do. I allowed myself to go down this path of sin. I found myself doing the very thing that I was so against, that I was against my core beliefs and who I was, and even what I believed about God. I went on a Saturday to a clinic and to have an abortion. And I remember walking in from the parking lot, and there was people across the street, and they said something like, hey, come over, we want to talk to you. In my head and in my heart, I was like, oh, somebody's gonna help me. Somebody's gonna save me from this horrible day. And the person I was with kind of, put their arm around me and kind of, walked me along to the front door. I felt like immobile, like I couldn't move, like I couldn't physically use my voice even to say. But yet I felt like, inside in my spirit that was crying out. But physically I just couldn't. I knew that it was wrong. I knew that I was ending a life. That's where that shame and that guilt came. And in my eyes, I ended a life. In my eyes, I was a murderer. And so you're caught with this. I'm so against this, but yet I've done this. And so you don't feel like you have anyone to turn to. I felt like part of me was gone. And so I turned to methamphetamines again. And I would try and numb that pain and say, well, this is just who I am then. I'm a meth user. I remember my mom then called me up one time and she said, we want you to come back home. And it was actually my stepdad who said to her, and him and I didn't always get along, but he said to my mom, we have to get Kim back because she's not doing well. I did move back and I started going to church with them, and I knew I could pray and I could read my Bible. And so I asked God to just take that desire away to even use and even to smoke cigarettes. And I know it doesn't happen that way with a lot of people, but I was very fortunate and blessed that I didn't go through a lot of withdrawal. I never really regretted anything, but yet having an abortion, I couldn't, I just couldn't get over that. And I knew that when you ask God to forgive you, He forgives you. And I know that you don't have to keep asking Him. Why do I keep asking God to forgive me when I know He does? I think I was missing a big part of God's forgiveness. We have forgiveness, but what comes with forgiveness is grace. And grace means that not only am I forgiven, but I don't have to live with that shame and with that guilt. It just had this huge, just in a moment, this huge change of how I can go from so much shame and so much guilt to so much freedom and grace, and to where I couldn't even think about what I had done myself, to wanting to share, because it's not what I've done, but it's about what He's done. And while I can't say that I'm proud of what I've done, I can't say that I'm glad that I went through what I went through, but had I not, I'm not sure I would have experienced grace like this. This huge weight that I didn't know that I was even carrying, just gone. You grow up in church and you know the verses and you know the facts about God, and you think you got it down and you think you know. And then when you've gone through something like this and then you experience His grace like this, the more you just realize how big He is.